Just succeed in your willpower saving throw before when you're at the supermarket. And again, don't shop when you're hungry. Trust me. What's up, guys? So today I wanted to go over 3 hypothetical scenarios about how your diet should be when you are in quarantine. So when you're in quarantine, I assume that your activity level will be lower. You might go from getting 10,000 steps or 15,000 steps per day to getting maybe just a couple thousand. And this is going to have pretty dramatic effects on your appetite, on your hormones, on your hunger levels, as well as many other things, which we'll look into. Now, the 3 scenarios are going to be cutting, bulking, and maintaining. I kind of don't like any of those terms because usually it's a little bit more complicated than that, but that's just how we're going to split it up for simplicity. Okay, so let's look at cutting first. So let's say you are 30 or 35% body fat as a man and you want to lose fat. You can absolutely still do this in quarantine. You don't need walking to lose weight. It can definitely help, as studies show, but it's certainly not necessary. You might walk for 1 or 2 hours and get some health benefits from that, as we'll see later, but in terms of calories burned, not that much, really not that impressive. You're better off focusing on the diet side of things. So if you are a higher body fat percentage, man or woman, and you want to lose fat, focus on a higher protein diet with low to moderate carbs and low to moderate fats. The key really is going to be controlling your energy intake, and this is especially true if you are in quarantine, if you're going to be forced to be sedentary. It's super important to focus on the diet. You don't necessarily need to count calories, but you need to realize that calories count. You also need to realize that your appetite, your hunger might be a little bit weird. Again, if you're used to a certain activity level and you bring that activity level down, your hunger might not go down with it. In fact, it might go up. So this is where using some kind of strategy to suppress your appetite, or at least regulate your appetite, can be useful. So stuff like high intensity interval training can be very useful for suppressing your appetite. Something like coffee or caffeine can also suppress the appetite. Something like intermittent fasting can also be a great strategy when you are not as active to lose weight. Intermittent fasting is a little bit weird because for some people it makes them super hungry in the evening. For other people it reduces their appetite. So this is one that you'll really have to try out yourself to see if it works for you. But it's really, really amazing for some people. You just have to find out if you're one of those people. Now, one good opportunity that this whole quarantine coronavirus thing might bring is an opportunity to cut restaurants out. Most restaurant food is super high calorie, high fat, butter, oil, lard, grease, whatever you want to call it. It's typically very high calories and often not very healthy. Whereas now you might have to cook for yourself. So I would use this opportunity to build the habit of cooking for yourself. This is going to be much healthier and much better for weight loss in the long term. So I would try that and really try to build that habit, and you can continue afterwards as well. In terms of a shopping list for this kind of person who's trying to lose weight, I would go with mostly meat and vegetables if possible. It's tempting when you're shopping, and never shop when hungry. It can be tempting to go to the aisle with all the processed food and cookies and crackers and bread and packaged crap. Don't even go to that aisle. If you buy some cookies and they're in the house, you're going to eat them. And you're probably going to eat them all at once. I know I would. So don't even buy it. Don't even keep it in the house. Don't even use that to test your willpower. Just succeed in your willpower saving throw before when you're at the supermarket. And again, don't shop when you're hungry. Trust me. Now, the second scenario is going to be bulking. So this is going to be someone who is underweight and probably also skinny, low body fat percentage, and is trying to put on muscle mass. Now, I'm not going to lie, this is going to be more difficult without a gym, but it's certainly still possible. If you can't get to a certain minimum level of strength, you can absolutely build muscle with body weight exercises. Now, where that minimum is, I think, is up for debate. It kind of varies. But I would say until you can bench press body weight and a half, and then squat double body weight and deadlift double body weight, you can make excellent progress just using your body weight and doing push-ups, dips, pull-ups, squats, split squats, one-legged squats, that kind of thing. Obviously the gym is ideal. If the gym was not ideal, the gym would not exist. Okay? So it won't be as ideal, it won't be perfect, but you can absolutely still build muscle. So my advice would still be in a caloric surplus and be aiming to gain weight. Now, in terms of programming for bodyweight movements, it's still fairly similar to the gym. I did a whole video on this, I'll link it in the description if you want to check it out. But for the most part, you still want to progressively overload. You still need to stimulate your muscles with enough volume, enough frequency, sufficient intensity, and going somewhat close to failure. Now, again, bodyweight is not as good as the gym, so you'll probably need to do a few more sets just because they are not as stimulatory. It sucks, but that's just how it is. You also might want to keep in mind that if you're not barbell squatting and deadlifting, your hunger levels are probably going to be lower. I personally find, as well as most of my clients find, that barbell squatting in particular, it makes hunger levels go way, way up. And so if you remove those as a stimulus, then your hunger levels are going to go down. And so you might need to force yourself to eat a little bit more. You shouldn't force feed yourself, it's just something to keep in mind. Now, the third scenario is going to be someone sort of like me, who already has a decent amount of muscle mass, and they're not bulking, they're not cutting, they're just sort of trying to maintain. And this is probably the most difficult scenario. If you have a lot of fat, it's easy to lose fat. If you don't have much muscle, it's easy to gain muscle. If you already have a fair amount of muscle, and I'm not saying I'm huge by any means, but if you've been training 5 or 6 years and you do have a good base, a decent physique, then it can be difficult to maintain. It really can. Now, for this kind of person, it really sort of depends on your goals. If you absolutely want to keep all of your muscle mass, eat high protein, get plenty of sleep, do bodyweight exercises, really focus on getting a healthy diet, getting, again, plenty of protein spaced throughout the day. Now, a lot of people say, oh, just the total protein is the only thing that matters. And that's not necessarily the case. There was a study on the elderly, and it compared 5 small feedings to 1 very large feeding in the evening. And actually, the very large feeding in the evening did better. And this is because the protein feeding that was that big could punch through their anabolic resistance. Older people typically don't respond as well to protein, so they need more in order to really break through that resistance. Another study in boxers found sort of the opposite. It found that 5 small meals did better than 2 bigger meals in terms of maintaining lean body mass. So those studies sort of conflict with each other a little bit, and you might have to experiment to see what is right for you. But typically I would recommend getting 30 to 40 grams of protein roughly 3 to 5 times per day. The other way you could go is sort of what I've done, where you don't care about muscle that much. I mean, people think I'm obsessed with muscle. Not so. They're just molecules. They're just part of my body. It's not that important. It's important, but it's not the only thing in life. So for me, if I go for a run, I know I might lose some muscle or some strength, but I also like being able to do that. I like the ability to go and move my body 7 or 8 miles in a decent time. For me, that is appealing. That is on equal par with muscle. So you really do have to self-assess and say, do I only care about muscle and strength, or do I perhaps not mind sacrificing that for other goals? So know yourself and know what you want. Now, for all of these cases, I don't think there's really a reason to panic buy. I don't think it's going to be nearly as bad as people think. And so just stay calm, stay relaxed, stay home, but don't, freak out. It's going to be okay. It's just going to be a few weeks more, maybe a month, probably at most. And yeah, just relax. Pandemics are just part of life, man. They're just part of nature, bro. So let me know if you have any questions or comments down below. And make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, hit that bell thing so you can get updates right away. Have a great day, be safe, be careful, and I will see you next time.